This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
Modov has dominated, Eisler has rebounded, and what we're left with is a fascinating battle for third in the championship. Only 17 points separate third to 10th. With a battle royale on our hands, the arena is none other than the Green Hell. Much to the relief of some, it is not the Nordschleife, but the Grand Prix course where our competitors will wage war. Will Modov complete a perfect season? Will we see a change for the bottom step of the podium in the championship? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the final round of the Precision Racing League's American iRacing Tuesday series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Taylor, this track has been the site of some dramatic encounters here in the PRL. I'm looking forward to it playing host to the finale.
Yes, we are definitely looking forward to this beautiful circuit here, the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, or actually the World Endurance Championship and BES series. This beautiful circuit is a 3.2 mile, 5.1 kilometer, 16 turn circuit, and it's going to be one of the most toughest tracks that a lot of these drivers will have to face. To give you the fantasy what it is like to take on this amazing course, let us go on board for a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Stefan Schlacker in the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around the Nürburgring. Down into Howe Cook, this first corner will see a lot of attempts at overtakes, but it's an incredibly sharp hairpin, so it's easy to get tangled up with your opponent if you're not careful. This leads you into the Mercedes arena, which is mostly made up of slower speed corners. It'll take patience if you get caught up behind a slower car through here, because unless you're significantly faster, it's unlikely that you'll get by. Eventually, this last chicane takes you back onto the main circuit, but there's a lot of runoff that's considered fair game to the outside, so expect to see a lot of drivers use every inch and then some. Heading down to Valvoline, it's not as common for anyone to manage a pass into it, since this downhill turn takes more speed than you'd expect. If anything, it's best to use it to set up for forward, which is probably the more important of the two. As the track continues to drop in elevation, you can see ahead that we're coming up to the Dunlop hairpin. If you got a bad exit out of Fort, expect your opponent to go onto the attack into here. There's not much special to it. Like a lot of hairpins, you simply square off the exit to give yourself a nice launch. Immediately, you'll be switching sides though, because you'll need the widest entry possible into the Schumacher S. It requires a little lift on the entry, so expect it to be mostly single file through this section. From there, you're now speeding towards 11, and this is another spot where a pass could happen from time to time. The paved runoff to the outside of the exit will really tempt you to carry more speed into it, but it's much more important to get the car off to the left and ready for Bilstein. If you're slow off of here, it's going to make you a sitting duck. It's a long, flat-out run through the kink and up the hill to the Vidal chicane. However, it gets sort of interesting in this little left-right jink. This is the endurance layout, so it's much faster than the Grand Prix version, which is tight and promotes overtaking. Passes will need confidence, maybe a nose ahead. From there, you've got a short burst up to Coca-Cola. It's another one where you've got to focus on your corner exit because you're now back onto the pit straight. Most drivers will be eager to set up a pass down to the first corner, so momentum will be critical. But hopefully you've now finished a lap around the Nürburgring. See a lap around the Nürburgring, at least the Grand Prix circuit, not the full Nordschleife again, in case anybody is wondering about that and knows of its reputation. Well, if you want to get a better reputation in simulators and sim racing, you should maybe check out SIMMSA. That is the Simulation MotorSports Association. And they're a sim racing platform created by experienced racers. Established in 2015, the association is bringing together organizations and communities to further promote sim racing globally. Concentrating on all sims worldwide, they offer a focused opportunity for sim racers to compete with each other. They also provide consultancy services to this growing esports world. SIMMSA offers solutions for racing simulator requirements, custom-built simulator parts, complete customization and upgrading of existing simulators. You can find them at SIMMSA.net. Thanks to them for sponsoring the series this season here on the GTE series, Tuesday nights. But it's wrapping up for this being the last round, so let's go over the championship. We talked a little bit about the points in the pre-race. And as you can see, up at the top, Karl Modhoff has already clinched the championship a couple rounds ago. And Christian Eisler has not clinched second, even though he's moved up into there. But you look at the difference between himself and Jean-Marc Tremblay, and it's quite a bit. Now, you can already get a feel there from third to fifth between Tremblay, Flores, and Modhoff. Well, Modhoff should not be fifth down there. That is actually, that should be Peterson that's down there in the fifth position. Anyways, only 4 points between those three, and then as I mentioned before, it is only 17 points from Tremblay down to Francisco Montini, who sits in 10th position right now. So it's going to be very tight between those drivers here in the final round on who winds up where. Let's take a look at the Teams Championship. Taylor, what's that got?
Well, looking at the Teams Championship right now, Speedworks Racing Team with the likes of Tremblay and Flores still sit at the top of the leaderboard, but by 24 points only behind in front of the Montini brothers of the SDS Racing crew. Rigmatech Ether Simsport with Griffith and Avatal, though, they lost that position from second as they dropped to third position, 60 points back, but have not clinched it, though, because they have to deal with the likes of Team Bushfink and the Andes Team Puma of Quita and Valenzuela. And that is your team's championship currently, and it's looking quite tight for the third on back positions.
Certainly is. And let's take a look at what this race will entail here for the final round. Only 8 in this season for Tuesdays, and they do get one drop week in the points. You can see the 3 cars that they're allowed to drive in these GTE class vehicles. This is a 45-minute race, which will mean you can expect 1 pit stop since they've limited the fuel cells compared to what they can run in real life. They can tweak the cars to their liking. Anything that you can do in real life to these cars, you can do in iRacing to make sure that it drives exactly how you want. They have an incident cap as well, and that can be a problem here at this track. It's pretty easy to rack them up, especially with some of the paved runoff areas. Only 24, and you will be disqualified. Now, if you don't hit that incident limit and you wreck your car, well, you've got no spare car to help yourself out to the end of this race, so you've got to go in and get repairs. Hopefully, it's good enough to try and make it all the way to the checkered flag. Speaking of making it to the checkered flag, somebody's got to try and beat Modhoff before all is said and done. So what are the keys to the race here today?
Well, the biggest key is trying to out-strategize the likes of Karl Modhoff. We've seen this entire season, Karl Modhoff win every single race this entire season. So drivers might try to something a little bit out of the hat. They know they can't go for the championship, but they might still try to get that win away to prevent Karl Modhoff from sweeping the entire season. So be prepared in case we see any drivers make early pit stops or any other type of strategy calls in order to try and take the lead away from Karl Modhoff. And then there's a second point. Yes, even though the championship is already wrapped up with Karl Modhoff winning the championship, there's still other positions for points in the battle for championship, third on back especially. So drivers are still going to be racing hard to try to get the last little bit of points ahead of their competition in order to put a nice bow on this season that we've had all season, these past 8 rounds. And then finally, looking forward and setting your sights ready for the new season. Drivers are going to be definitely during this off season taking their time to get ready for the new season, as we will have the possibility of a new car joining us as well with the new BMW. So drivers are going to have to be taking their time to get things ready for new competition and new cars.
That'll be fun with the BMW, and well, that's thanks to iRacing. And you can watch more iRacing here on the IESN, that's the iRacing eSports Network, if you subscribe, or hopefully you should be able to catch more of that BMW next season. All you got to do is click the big red button up there on the YouTube page that says subscribe, and it'll show up in your feed, and you won't miss a moment. Now, if you are a here in the virtual world, transporting your car to locales literally all over the globe is as easy as clicking your mouse. But in the real world, it's a lot more involved for those who haul vehicles state to state. The last thing you want to worry about is having to fill out all kinds of messy paperwork for the car inspections and then keep them in order on the road. There's great news if you're looking to do away with those stacks of paper. Inspectoride is the fastest way to conduct a vehicle inspection and create reports. You can save time, eliminate paper, keep better inspection records, and simplify your life all from your iPhone, iPad, or Android phone or tablet. You can find out more at inspectoride.com/iRacing, where you can even find a free trial to find out if Inspectoride is right for you. So check it out. Once again, that address is inspectoride.com/iRacing. Taking a look at qualifying here with just a few minutes left. Right now, Flores up at the top, and Modoff well down the order in 7th. And in fact, Modoff's getting ready to complete another lap. So as we take a look at him, a 1:48.8, the only timed lap he's got in, goes down to a 1:48.6. That's only good enough for 5th. This is not as good as we've seen him do in the past here in qualifying. So is this a good sign for all the other drivers to maybe prevent him from sweeping the field?
Don't get your hopes up for some of those drivers. We've seen Karl Modoff be able to do something like this. Maybe not be the best towards the beginning of qualifying, but right at the end, on those last closing minutes, we could see him jump up to the front row at least.
The driver who's looking for some redemption is Simon Avital's, who's right on board with Peterson here, making his way out of the Schumacher S towards 11. Avital had a slowdown penalty at the start of Spa, and well, that set the tone for his race. Unfortunately, had trouble trying to climb back through. Currently sits in 2nd, so being on the front row is offering him a great opportunity to redeem himself, the Canadian, as it looks like he's not going to do a fast lap this time. Christian Eisler, who has moved himself up into 2nd in the points, has got himself currently 4th on the grid, just on the outside of row 2.
Yeah, Christian Eisler doing the best that he can all season, had a lot of ups and downs. I think he's looking forward to put a pin in this season, try to move forward and get ready to complete the season. Maybe with a possibility where he can maybe go back to the drawing board and figure out just how he can clinch a championship here in the PRL.
We've got only a couple drivers yet to get a timed lap in here in qualifying. Jerome Bertome, Luis Morga, Aaron Thacker, and Hugo Galaz. Relatively small field out here today, we should say. I'm seeing 23 drivers at the moment. Qualifying almost over, so I doubt we'll see many more show up, since it's been awful late for anybody to make a late appearance. This is on board Eisler, trying to see if he can maybe get up on the front row and try to challenge Flores. He comes around the line, and as he crosses it, he does go faster for a 1:48.2, and that does move him on the front row.
What a drive indeed for Christian Eisler. Let's see what he's able to do as he's coming. He's going to probably pull it around pit road. Karl Modoff's getting ready to do his outlap right now to see if he can figure out a way to do it. But Jean-Marc Tremblay is another driver who's been quite impressive this season, doing real good, finishing inside the top 10, a couple of top 5s this season. Currently sitting in the 7th position, comes across the line. He does improve his lap time to P3. What a lap for the Canadian.
Remember, he wants to try and overtake Eisler for 2nd. As we watch Eisler now down in 4th. He was on the front row moments ago. Currently working his way through 4 down the hill towards Dunlop. But yeah, Tremblay a long ways back. He's going to have to hope for some trouble for Eisler, which has found Christian a number of times so far this season. So it's not out of the cards for sure based on his luck. But still, it's going to be hard for Tremblay to hope to try and overtake that position. If anything, he'll be on his rear guard, looking behind him at Flores, Peterson, Avital, and Montini instead.
Yes, it's funny. I hope you didn't put the commentator's curse on Christian Eisler with that comment that you said there, Joe.
Yeah, I hope so too, actually, now that you say that. The checkered flag has come out, and Francisco Montini takes pole. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Quite unexpected, but a very good lap indeed of 1:48.10, as you saw on the top of your screen. I mean, that's just quite impressive that we see. Let's see if Eisler can maybe respond.
Nope. He can't, because he's taken to the pits, so he is not going to be able to respond. Karl Modhoff won't be able to improve either. That's Simon Avital that we saw flash across the screen, and as he comes across the line, he does get up to 4th with his last attempt.
Corey Clark now is another driver trying to see. He's currently in the 14th position. He'd like to close out the season on a high note as he comes out of the Coca-Cola curve, coming down the front straightaway. See what he's able to do. Does he improve? He does not improve. Unfortunate for the Club Georgia driver.
That's going to be the last of our drivers. So, as we take a look at the starting order, a bit of a surprise here, but Francisco Montini, despite being on the pole, you have to wonder if he's going to be able to take it all the way to the end again, as he finally took his first podium last round in Spa, despite his speed all season. Jorge Flores, as well, has been fast lately. He sits in second on the grid, as he's also 4th in the points. Christian Eisler, who has currently moved himself up into second after gaining some points with some good results. He'll start from 3rd. Simon Avital will be P4. Then row 3 has Jean-Marc Tremblay on the inside. Mike Griffith, who has shown some speed and consistency, hasn't had good results lately. He'll start from P6. Karl Modhoff, our current champion, starts from 7th. He's won every single race. Can he win the 8th? He'll have to climb a number of spots to do it today. Leif Peterson will be P8 with Fernando Borda starting in 9th. Sebastian Maciera will round out our top 10.
Federico Montini will start in the 11th position alongside Rodrigo Munoz in 12th position. Tyler DeZube will start in 13th alongside Corey Clark in 14th. Takeshi Kita in 15th position, followed by Mr. Consistency Aaron Thacker in 16th. Joey Trungale will start in the 17th position alongside Cristobal Valenzuela in 18th. Justin Hall in the 19th position, and Jeff Jacobson will round out your top 20.
21st is our last car to get a time in, Hugo Galaz, followed by Jerome Bertome, and 22nd, and Luis Morga, the last of our 23-car field here for the final round of Season 1 here in 2019 for the Precision Racing League's American iRacing Tuesday Series, which, by the way, they are going to be changing names next season. I need to dig up, actually, the info I was given on that, but it's going to be a little bit shorter, thankfully. I want to say it's simply going to be called the PRL GTE Series or something to that effect, but it'll be a little bit less of a mouthful as we see the cars now grid up right before the kink. The PRL GTE Sports Car Series is what I'm being told is what it will be next season. So, yes, much easier to say, a little bit more catchy here as they now get gridded up behind the roof pace car. Going to be a rolling start, but not a full pace lap here at the ring. So what will we see here in the final round with the championship off the cards for the likes of Karl Modhoff? He's free to run it as hard as he wants, just to try to win every single race of the season. Then we've got Christian Eisler looking to try and take second place for what I believe will be the 3rd time in 4 seasons for him to finish second in the points.
I believe so, at least inside the top 5 easily this entire season, or these past few seasons. Seems like Christian Eisler has been having just those close moments but cannot seal the deal, as we see again this season.
Then, of course, you have to wonder about all those drivers who are fighting for 3rd. Tremblay currently lining up in, let's see, where was that actually? I believe it was, yes, 5th position, who is ahead of the likes of Flores in the points, who's lining up on the front row, who's putting himself in a good spot to try to overtake Tremblay for the final spot on the podium in the points. Peterson, not as good as we've seen him in the past. He's starting 8th, but he also has shown that even though he's not as good at qualifying, he's great at race pace. He could improve up there from down on the 4th row. So a lot could be on hand here today for changing of positions. And working up to the Vidal chicane. They've been backing up like they have been a number of times in this race. We could see a little bit of an early start from the likes of Francisco Montini. because the roof pace car is already in the lane, working his way around the inside of that hairpin, through Coca-Cola. Montini waiting until he comes off the corner, waiting patiently, holding them back. He is giving a little bit of time before he accelerates. This is longer than we've seen in the past. Now he's gone like a shot. Green flag is out here for the final round of the American iRacing Tuesday Series. Already we're looking at potentially 3 wide there, and that was Simon Avital backing out as a battle for second place. Jorge Flores losing out to Christian Eisler, who has the inside into the Hal Cook, but it switches back in favor of Flores, who gets himself up into second. But I think it was safe through that first hairpin.
As they're coming out of the Mercedes arena, it is still going to be Montini, but Christian Eisler looks to the inside of Jorge Flores. Now Avital takes a peek now. It's 4 Ferraris in the top 4 right now, as 4 Porsches battle it out right behind them, as Carl Modaf now tries to go to the outside of Jean-Marc Tremblay.
Already trying to make progress down through Valvoline into Ford. It's going to switch back to the right side. Can he get it off the corner, though? A little bit off into the gravel as Tremblay tries to come back at him, but it's not going to work. He's not going to worry about Leif Peterson behind him. Already, we've got Carl Modaf 2 positions in half a lap.
What a drive indeed for Carl Modaf. This is the type of racing I want to see Carl do tonight as they make their way up the Schumacher S's and to the run to Michelin. He's closing into the back bumper of Mike Griffith right now. Griffith still trying to hold his position as he's closing in onto the back bumper of Simon Avital.
Up at the front, Montini has not lost his lead since the drop of the green, but Flores giving close chase. Look at that train of cars coming down towards the Vidal chicane. Christian Eisler as well, wanting to get that second place back from Flores, but they break for this swift left, right. Nobody able to take a position within the top 10 so far. Do we see any attacks farther back in the field? We got a car slow, actually. Aaron Thacker, what happened there? Not exactly sure. He just suddenly slowed down. He must have had a cut course or something. Come back to the lead. Ooh, a little bit of a challenge down into Hal Cook, and also side-by-side action between Carl Modaf and Mike Griffith. Modaf managing to overtake him for 5th place. That sets off a chain reaction behind them. Jean-Marc Tremblay. Oh, and is that Griffith going off? Griffith off the track from Mercedes Arena.
Got the car a little bit loose. You got to be careful there. The car can get easily light through that section of the corner if you don't be careful. But right now, he has to now battle it out with the likes of Sebastian Maciera.
Certainly lost him some positions, but up to the lead. Jorge Flores looking to gain one over Francisco Montini. He backs out of it down into the Dunlop chicane. As we watch from onboard Flores, if these two start fighting, it is a very small gap back to Christian Eisler behind him. You can see in the rear view screen on board here with Flores that Bushfink Ferrari is closing in and threatening.
Eisler being very patient, but waiting for one of those two drivers to make a mistake, and it looks like Flores might have had to check up a little bit right now as they're making their way down towards the kink. I mean, he's got a good run. He may take a peek to the inside as they go to the chicanes.
Oh, he's got a great run now. But I think I saw a little bit of a lift. Yeah, he backs out of it before the Vidal chicane. And Christian Eisler going to try and set himself up for later. Great run, though, from Flores. Doesn't have enough of a straightaway before the Coca-Cola hairpin. And he comes onto the front stretch, trying to give himself yet another opportunity. We saw a little bit of a look to the inside last time. Avital with the fastest lap in the meantime between these top 4. No peak down into the Hal Cook from Jorge Flores on the 3rd lap.
The Vidal chicanes can be a very treacherous area. We've seen drivers make mistakes a couple of seasons ago, especially I believe Christian Eisler was one of those when they try to go too wide. So maybe Christian was thinking maybe not to put that pressure on since it's still early in the race for the matter. But he has backed off a little bit from Jorge Flores, and as well Simon Avital has pulled a little bit of a gap over him. Yeah,
that's a fair point. I'm trying to remember who it was that Eisler ran into late in the race a few seasons ago, and certainly cost himself and his rival a few positions. Poor Simon Avital is under threat for 4th place because Carl Modaf already has locked up behind him.
really taking his time, though, as they can make their way up to Schumacher S's. He's putting the proper pressure on there that he needs in order to try to close that gap as they make the run up towards Michelin. Karl Modov doing an excellent job of just holding his line, making sure he finds that opportunity. He goes a little bit lower into that curve right now, gets a lot of time, gets a great corner exit. That's the type of exit you need. Don't want to go too far off the line, otherwise you will get a cut course penalty.
Makes great use of it. He's well within the slipstream. Not sure if this is going to be enough. You got to be pretty far alongside. And indeed, as he ducks out, he thinks better and comes back to the racing line. He stays behind Avital, weaving their way through the chicane now. Oh, but a late dive, very late. Can he get the car to turn in through Coca-Cola? Yes, he can. But now he's a sitting duck on the front stretch with a poor exit on that corner. Simon Avital stayed right in behind him. He tries to cover him off down to the inside as they come to the first hairpin. He's got to swing back out to give himself a nice wide entry into this sharp corner, and I think he's managed to make it stick.
What a brave move for Karl Modov. That's the type of racing I've been looking forward to see him do, and he does a stellar job of it right there now as he sets his sights now on Christian Eisler.
It took him less than 6 minutes to go from 8th place up to 4th. And now he's looking at trying to take the podium on. He's got a little bit of a gap up to Eisler because of that battling, which, speaking of, that has been fairly close as well. Eisler drops off a little bit of the likes of Flores, who still challenges Montini, but doesn't stick his nose in down into the Dunlop hairpin.
Dunlop, you can see on Simon Avital, got a little bit greatest exit right there, so he will lose a little bit of time as they make the run to Schumacher. I mean, you got to have the right amount of speed carry to get you through that chicane very quickly to help gain some time, but it seems like Avital's struggling a little bit through that section.
Meanwhile, back in 9th place, got some action between the other Montini, Federico, and Sebastian Macietta. Federico did not have nearly as good a qualifying as his brother did. He started this thing from 11th. He's managed to go up one position. In fact, swapped it with Sebastian Macietta. No, excuse me, he's been up 2 positions, I should say, because he's in 9th place.
As we can see right now, Sebastian having to try to close into the back bumper of Montini as they go through Coca-Cola. Gets a good exit right there, so that might help him close the gap as they make the run towards the first turn of the hairpin. It could be a very difficult pass, but we've seen drivers try to make excellent passes there, but you got to be careful. Make sure you hit your braking mark, and it looks like they both do, but I don't think Sebastian can be close enough to try to undercut him.
Certainly not. He stays behind the white machine of Federico Montini coming into the Mercedes arena. And Modov already overtaking Christian Eisler. By the time we get there, he's well past and onto the podium. Let's take a look at this. That's not a common spot when you see overtakes. What happened here? Ooh, it goes a little wide in that little chicane exiting out of the Mercedes arena. Wow. Modov set that one up beautifully.
That was a beautiful pass by Karl Modov right there. I mean, that just shows why he is the champion this season. He's just been so consistent, so smart with his driving, and also needing to make the moves when needed. And that just shows why he is our season 15 champion.
And the only Porsche up in the top 5 right now. Montini, Flores, Eisler, and Avital all racing Ferraris. Modov, he's slicing through them like a knife through butter as he watches our 2 leaders battle up at the front, probably eyeing them hungrily at this point, thinking all I need is these 2 to go side by side once, and he can get a 2-for-1 deal.
That could be a possibility, or he could just go ahead and pass them both himself right now as they make their way down to turn 1 into the hairpin corner. They go. Looks like we see Jorge Flores go lose brake check a little bit. That could cause an opportunity for Modov to maybe take a look in the Mercedes arena.
Yeah, locked right front for Jorge Flores. He gets a great run, though. just not enough of a stretch. He's given room at the apex into the chicane, and indeed, this is causing Modov to get right up on them. This is looking very familiar, but way off into the runoff. Flores tries to carry his speed. Is this a defensive move or is this an attacking move? It's an attacking move. He takes the lead away from Francisco Montini for the first time this race. Modov sees an opportunity. He tries to get through at the same time, but now he's got to go side by side with the likes of Francisco Montini. He's on the outside, but he's got a nose ahead down into the Dunlop chicane. He breaks that little bit later. He takes it down to the apex, and he's got it done into second place.
What a pass indeed for Carl Modov. Now he's got his eyes set for Jorge Flores, and I'm pretty sure he's going to make quick work of Jorge once he gets to the back bumper of him right now as they make their way up through Michelin Curve. Looks like Jorge might have gotten a little bit too low in that corner. He has to be careful on his corner exit if he didn't get a cut course penalty.
Look at how that action has caused the likes of Eisler and Avital to close in. It is now a 5-car train for the lead. It does give Flores a slight breakaway up at the front, about 0.6 of a second between himself and the champion, but the number 48 continues to reel him in 100th by 100th, just chipping away at Jorge Flores' lead.
Carl Modov doing a stellar job. I mean, started back in 7th, but still is now going to have his eyes set on first place right now. We were mentioning earlier about how we saw
on screen. Sorry, that was Eisler and Avital going side by side, and Avital couldn't quite get it done. Looks like that corner just not offering enough grip on the inside for the green and white machine of Simons. So he settles back behind the likes of Eisler for now.
Eisler and Avital have been battling quite well pretty much this entire season, when both of them have been having good runs and running up towards the front. Kind of reminds me of their battle that Eisler had with another driver a couple of seasons ago, the likes of Daniel Pinto. And this could be the track where we see a rivalry bloom here, as we remember a couple of seasons ago, where we see Pinto and Eisler make contact through the Vidal chicanes and cause a major incident where it cost both of them the chance of a championship. I think we'll go to the front of the field right now. Carl Modov definitely closed in again to the back bumper of Jorge Flores.
Meanwhile, back in 10th place, we've got Valenzuela and Borda fighting with a train of cars behind them. That's Dzube, Maciera, and Griffith. Griffith needs to find his way back upwards because he started in 6th. He's still in 14th. And he's been making slow going of his progress back to the front.
Yeah, a little bit difficult for Mike Griffith. I mean, he has a fast car, definitely, but due to the fact that it's just so difficult in some parts of the track to make passes, he cannot go ahead and make those passes as quickly as he wants to right now. Plus, he did slide through the grass, so there could be a little bit of built up, a little bit of debris on the tires. He's trying to maybe have to get cleaned off, maybe in a pit stop decide maybe change some tires as he goes a little bit over the curbing before he hits Coca-Cola.
At the top of your screen, you might notice that fastest lap just set by Carl Modov. That's because he's caught up to the back of Flores and looking to take the lead away from 7th place to 2nd, and it's only been less than 14 minutes at the moment into this race. Take him potentially less than a third of the race to take the lead away if in the next minute and a half he can manage to sneak by the 929.
He's definitely going to be trying right now. And make their way to the Dunlop curve. He's trying to close in. He did have a little bit of a brake check lockup in the Dunlop right there, going way too late for the most part. As they go through there, he gets a little bit better exit than the likes of Flores, as Flores goes into the gravel track just a little bit as they make the climb up the short tracks.
We had a big incident with Fernando Borda, and a few cars had to take evasive action, including Tyler Dzube, try and get by him. This was down into Ford. Let's take a look and see what caused this. Saw the car slide off to the left side of the track. This is in the Mercedes Arena. It happened out of Valvoline, I believe. He's in the middle of this train of cars coming off. Everything looking pretty good right now. Down into the downhill left-hander. following behind the Andes machine. Oh, looks like maybe just loose on entry.
Car definitely did snap loose on entry, as you can saw right there. Fernando Bordabo was able to maybe not make any contact. Looks like there's no damage on the car.
And we watch it one more time, but we got to go back live because there was an attempt for the lead as Karl Modoff trying to go the long way around the first hairpin. Flores denied him, but obviously, like you said, he's not waiting long to get this done.
I've just been real impressed with Karl Modoff. It's just amazing to see what he's able to do right now as he tries to take a peek, not able to push the car right now, but wants to make sure he gets a little bit closer right there. But Karl's now finding that opportunity to look for that opportune time to make the pass. He's definitely going to try and maybe take a look maybe in Dunlop. This is where he's really been putting a lot of pressure on Flores. He's been getting late into the braking and trying to get that best exit to make the run up Schumacher.
Stayed right under the gearbox of Jorge Flores, certainly applying plenty of pressure, but you have to admit that Jorge's been dealing with it incredibly well. Not going to have an opportunity this time as they break and then weave across the track for Bill Steen. There is one of your best chances, getting the run off of Bill Steen. Decently exiting the corner, the number 48 might be able to stick his nose in, but I think he's just too far back as they climb up the hill. The Vidal chicane not offering a chance this time. This is where he got the run last time, coming off of Coca-Cola Taylor and down towards Haug Hook.
Oh, he's going to try. He hugs that curbing coming out of Coca-Cola, gets a good run, utilize a little bit of the slipstream, gets a sniff of that air to try to close that gap. But you see Jorge Flores start to pull away. It's about a 2 or 3 car length gap between the two as they head down into the hairpin.
Stays behind him. Another lockup from Flores, though. A lot of tire smoke from that right front. Now, we don't have flat spots in iRacing, but you can definitely overheat the tire doing that too much as he weaves through the Mercedes arena. Taylor, this definitely looks like what you were talking about earlier, where Modoff just kind of biding his time, poking and prodding, seeing where a good opportunity presents itself.
He's definitely trying, but if Jorge Flores is not careful, he could definitely use up those tires early and will have to, in order to continue on with this race, have to change tires for him. Unlike Karl Modoff, who's not really putting a whole lot of stress on his tires right now. There's sometimes we've seen a little brake lockup from Karl Modoff, but still, compared to Jorge Flores, Jorge has definitely been locking up the tires a lot more often.
We've been staying with this, but I just want to mention, we don't have to go to it. Francisco Montini still leading Eisler Avital, and now Tremblay has gotten to the back of that battle for third. And it's awful close between them. If that starts to erupt, we'll try and switch back. But obviously with the battle for the lead potentially able to break out at any moment, it's hard to take the cameras off the likes of Flores and Modoff.
Just about 2 or 3 minutes. The pit window will be open for the most part for these drivers. We're now under 30 minutes to go. A little under 15 minutes have passed in this race. So we could be seeing pit stops early for some of those ones that are running in the back, maybe some of the mid-packers as well, to see if they can maybe leapfrog the competition.
Once again, the number 929 car doing a very good job running defense here. Not having to move his car over as he locks it up yet again. But getting a good exit off of Coca-Cola, just preventing Karl from having any opportunity into one of the best places to pass.
Oh, but Karl gets a good run through the Mercedes arena right now. He gets right up to the back bumper. He might try to do the same thing like he did with Eisler, but cannot this time. He's going to have to wait another lap or another couple of corners to see if he can be able to make the pass.
Down the hill, he stays right on the racing line. Maybe getting himself set up here off of Ford. Doesn't even use the whole track, though, compared to the likes of Flores, and yet is still looking incredibly good. Now he takes a look down to the right side, but the hairpin doesn't offer him the chance quite yet. Circling around, staying right in the tire tracks. Look at this, less than a car length behind. Can he withstand the wake through the Schumacher S? He can, but he starts to drop back a little bit.
Sets up though, gets right to the back bumper though through Michelin. has a great opportunity maybe to make a run for Jorge Flores as they make the run down to the leadoff chicanes.
Intense stuff here at the top. And we've got, things have broken out now with our drivers. As he takes a look to the inside, we can't go off the lead at the same time that we've got the battle for fourth. Very, very hot. Karl Modov taking a look down to the inside of Coca-Cola. Now onto the front stretch. It's going to be a drag race up to the first corner. He has the inside, but he does not have the momentum. Trying to squeeze him down. Jorge Flores using everything he can to try and keep Karl Modov from getting by through Haug Hook. He's on the outside, but he holds his line. Now it goes to the inside of the Mercedes arena, and once again, the number 48 is denied. And as that has happened, a wreck into the first corner in our battle for third.
Looks like the likes of Montini.
And yes, Francisco Montini. We'll come back to that in a bit. This battle not over between Karl Modov and Jorge Flores. This is looking a lot like last night in the Autobahn series, where a battle for the lead prevents us from looking at all the other action elsewhere. A fantastic run down to the hairpin. This could be the chance, but he doesn't think so. Karl Modov once again back it off, swinging it wide on the entry, coming down to the apex, maybe looking to get himself the run down towards Michelin, but nope, it's not going to work this time. I think we've got just enough time to take a look at that replay. And he got a cut course, actually. We don't need to see this, but just reporting that Modov had to back off. You're going to see down into the first corner, Avital and Montini come together, but what kicked it off?
Seeing right now,
following Eisler.
Yeah, following Eisler at the moment. As we see Eisler just bobbing and weaving, trying to break the draft away from Avital. Ooh, I think Montini just missed his breaking point.
Yeah, I think he tucked a wheel off into the grass. Just looked like that car, unfortunately, touched the dirt slightly, and unfortunately spun into the likes of Avital, sending him down to 6th and Montini down to 8th. That promotes Christian Eisler up to 3rd. Tremblay is currently in 4th, and Leif Peterson inherits 5th.
We've been talking a lot about Leif Peterson. I mean, we almost thought last night at Spa with the Autobahn series he could have had a shot at maybe a podium finish. Couldn't quite close the deal, but still having a strong run these past few races. I mean, I had to give him the award of most improved driver these past few seasons. I mean, Leif Peterson is definitely a force to be reckoned with, possibly next season.
Well, both Karl Modov's slowdown penalty and that incident has broken up the battles up at the top. So let's glance farther back in the field. Tyler DeZube in 12th. Well, he's got Aaron Thacker fighting for that one. The number 816 trailing behind there in the black Ford.
Mr. Consistency trying to get his way back up into the top 10. Not the best season for him. As we've seen, he only has a couple of top 10 finishes so far this season, but still having a good run tonight. He's trying to get by DeZube as they make it down into Dunlop, but I tell you what, DeZube's all over the back bumper of Cristobal Valenzuela as they make the run up to Schumacher.
Yeah, Valenzuela's got to start sweating a little bit here as DeZube sizes him up. Is he brave enough to try and outbrake him into the left-hander? No, not quite. Oh, but a mistake's going to hand it over. Cristobal getting up on the curb, has to catch the car, loses 2 positions in the snap of a finger. Let's take a look at what happened here. Maybe the pressure just got to him.
By the looks of it, I mean, I made plenty of mistakes through that corner myself personally when trying to drive this track, but I've never seen anything like that before.
Probably grateful for the paved runoff. And since that has happened, Modov set another fastest lap of the race last time. 1:48.3 on the board compared to the 48.8 from Jorge Flores. Half a second faster than the leader. But despite that incredible pace over him, Carl's been having a hard time make this overtake stick.
It seems to like he's just, from some parts, it seems like he has the speed to get by him, but then there's times just wondering, is he really going to just follow him around or make the pass? It's quite hard to tell at the moment, but we can see he has closed that gap right back up as they make the climb out of Schumacher. Jorge Flores is able to pull a little bit of a gap as they run into Michelin.
Stays right with him, coming down to the back stretch. We've seen him try to maybe think about moves, try to shake maybe a mistake out of Jorge Flores into the Vidal chicane. Ooh, this is a lot closer this time. A little bit of a defensive move, but it's not enough. He's got his nose in. They're going to be side by side. We've seen this before into this corner, and it hasn't gone well. Can those two make it through? Yes, they can. And in fact, he gets the overtake done, or does he? Down into Coca-Cola. Back up the inside. Here comes Jorge Flores. Tries to gun it off the corner, but the momentum swings back in favor of Karl Modhoff. The long way around. It's going to be another right-hander into the Haug hook. Modhoff braking almost about the same time as Jorge Flores. Much shorter line, though, as Flores denies him and gets it back to the front once again.
I wonder if Karl Modhoff was doing a little bit of testing to see if that line run, because looking at the times, he still was able to get the lead crossing the line, so might be something to put in your back pocket if coming to the last lap later on in this race.
I don't know if he's wanting to try and snipe this one at the end. I think he's genuinely trying to take this spot from what I'm looking at. 18 minutes left to go, though. We're getting towards the end of the pit window. Once again, looking very good off of Ford, and once again looking to the inside only to abandon it. Another lockup there from Jorge Flores. He gets the car wound up in time, but these right-handers certainly not working well. They're going to go side by side into the Schumacher S. Modhoff backs out of it once again. Now he's really on the attack. Almost every corner, he's trying to work his way by. He goes deep into Michelin, goes the long way around. It switches back into Bilstein. He should be able to get it this time if he can just get the power down. Does he finally have it done? I've called it before, but I'm not willing to give him the spot quite yet. Jorge Flores continuing to apply the pressure, even though he's been overtaken. Defensive move down into the Vidal chicane. And finally, I think you can say that Modhoff is got to call this one safe.
Oh, I would see Jorge Flores gets a little bit loose out of Coca-Cola as he tried to almost get right to the inside. So I think now you can say that Karl Modhoff has the lead.
I tell you what, Flores made Modhoff work for that one. I got to give Flores credit for really trying to, as he locks him up again, for really trying to go defensive, race fair, and force Modhoff doing it the hard way.
We still got 17 minutes on the clock and a pit stop, so anything can happen. As you can see, Karl Modhoff started back in 7th. So he has the 7th, one of the lowest pit box compared to Jorge Flores, who has pit stall number 1. So maybe a little bit of an advantage, maybe, if these two decide to come down pit road at the same time.
Meanwhile, going to the Montini brothers, this is going to be interesting in a moment. For 7th place, Francisco trying to come back at Frederico. Remember, Francisco had problems earlier, even though he started on the pole. Caught a little bit of dirt, spun in turn 1, lost more positions. His brother got by. Now he's chased him down and looking to demote Frederico.
And the two brothers going at it right now. I mean, I tell you what, this has been cool to watch these two brothers go side-by-side racing all season long. Actually, also more working together as they've been able to finish strong, finish sometimes on the podium. So the Montini brothers definitely showing speed here this entire season.
And that was a slowdown penalty for sure from Francisco. The car behind the 06 giving up a lot of time up to Frederico, so he's got to regain that ground all over again. That gives me time to mention, we talked about the battle for 3rd in the championship. Flores is one of those fighting for it. He currently sits 4th, 2 points behind Tremblay. Well, he's 2 positions ahead of Tremblay, who actually pits right now. Jean-Marc finding the cones and coming down to his pit speed limiter. And I'll have to check how many points he'll gain over if he manages to finish in second, while Flores finishes in, or excuse me, if he finishes in fourth while Flores finishes in second. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough for him to overtake him, or if they'll potentially tie. Quick stop. 1.6 seconds for Tremblay. Compare that to Aaron Thacker, who would leave the only other car to take a scheduled stop at 9.4. It's going to bring Tremblay out in 12th position. Meanwhile, Fernando Borda comes and take a scheduled stop as well. Wow, the field is really spread out at this point. Everybody a second or more apart.
Yeah, right now I think everyone's trying to get a little bit of separation from each other before the pit stop cycles start to happen. As we see pretty much no battles going on in the entire field, as Justin Hall just completed his pit stop as we're on board with him coming off pit road. It's not maybe as treacherous as some other pit roads, but this one can be a little bit difficult if you're not careful. Got a clear racetrack in front of him, and he doesn't have to worry about Takeshi Kita. He's still a good few seconds back.
Meanwhile, Modoff has extended a gap over Flores that was at about 1.7 seconds. Make that a little bit bigger now, because Flores has come to the pits. Eisler's going to stay out. And so is Peterson. Now, Jean-Marc Tremblay is our highest pitter, but Flores was a decent amount ahead of him, so I don't think that he's going to be able to jump Flores. Understand that Munoz is also in.
Along with Tyler DeZube, the Club Carolina driver as well.
You see them heading down towards their stall. Now, Tremblay is actually caught up behind Valenzuela, and this might cost him some time. And it did cost him some time, because Flores is out in front of him. Oh, wait, no, excuse me. He was trying to jump Flores. Sorry, I overexcited myself there. So Flores should be out ahead of him. My apologies.
I was scared for a second.
Yeah. But I think this is bad for Tremblay. Valenzuela is definitely slowing him up.
Well, the good news is, even though Tremblay and Flores are battling it out for a points championship in the single car make, as far as team championship, if they keep this up and work their way up, maybe inside the top 5 for both of them, they could wrap up the team's championship.
And Valenzuela is not going to defend down into Dunlop and lets Tremblay by. He knows that he's a fast driver. He's not willing to lose time here in his own battle. And so that moves Jean-Marc up to 9th. Down to 12 minutes to go, and now we've got our leader in. Eisler as well. Leif Peterson. I think this is the end of the pit window. Avital. Yes, pretty much all cars are coming in who have not stopped. Francisco Montini, Federico Montini, Sebastian Maciera.
Well, here comes Jorge Flores as he's coming out of Coca-Cola. We could have that battle possibly. Let's see where Carl Modoff is. Modoff is out right now. Gap might just be neutral.
Yep. I think once we see the time come down on our clocks, he lost a little bit of time, actually. Flores now down to 2.7 seconds. Remember, it was about 1.5 when they pitted. Meanwhile, Eisler and Tremblay have found one another after the pit stops. Eisler ahead of Tremblay. And Jean-Marc is fighting to try and hold on. Oh, and Christian with an error. This is not good. Coming out of the Mercedes arena, he's just started to lose the car. Now he didn't. Well, he did hit the tires, but it's very, very light. He tried to get it turned around. Just a little bump. Well, that's not good news for Christian. He's down to 6th. Need to check to see how many points that will lose him potentially. Oh, and we've had a problem with Federico Montini. Montini losing multiple positions. What happened to Federico here? Now, is he stuck on? I think his pit speed limiter is stuck.
That can be one of the most embarrassing but yet difficult things to have to deal with. In my experience in endurance racing, I've had teammates to where they forgot to set it on their park clocks.
It's this late in the season. How could he have made that mistake? Let's listen. Is it hitting the rev limiter? It is. What in the world? This is a bizarre incident and costly for Federico, who's basically got to do an entire lap around and bring it back into the pits, I believe. Unless maybe he just forgot to put fuel in it.
Here, so it's not a pit limiter issue. Maybe did he not get enough fuel?
Well, you can be in 4th gear with the pit limiter on. I suspect maybe it's fuel. Maybe he's got to like just baby it around. Meanwhile, let's go to 10th place because Aaron Thacker, Tyler DeZube. Thacker once again fighting for a top 10. He's managing those top 10s this season. You got to give him credit.
He is Mr. Consistency indeed, managing those top 10s, but he has to fight for it now as Tyler DeZube closes that gap a little bit. They're coming out. I mean, Aaron Thacker has had an up and down season, but those top 10s have definitely been helping him out quite well. As they go down into the corners right now, go down. Tyler DeZube trying to find a way to get by.
And let's stay on this, but I can report Federico did forget to put fuel in. He has run out of fuel and is coasting down the pit lane. Actually, to the frustration of Takeshi Kita, who was stuck behind him before he could peel around once the pit lane got a little wider. Meanwhile, this battle is a good one as Thacker manages to sneak by DeZube.
Got a good run of the Schumacher S's, so he might be able to start pull away now, but DeZube gets late into the braking zone as they come out of Michelin. Great exit. Let's see if he's able to close the gap, utilize the slipstream as they make the run down to the Vidal chicanes.
A little bit too far back, unfortunately, for DeZube. Taylor, we've got 7.5 minutes left in the season, and Karl Modoff is leading the race after winning all previous 7 rounds. This is absolutely phenomenal. I don't think I've ever seen any season in any series where one person won every single race, and that's in 6 years of coverage here on GSRC.
I have never in my life seen someone so dominant in a single series as far as on the iRacing service that we have seen here tonight in the GT. I mean, the PRL has definitely put on a great show. Karl Modoff, definitely the driver to beat as far as all previous champions. Don't get me wrong, all these former champions that we've seen, Trelica, Perez, all of them credible champions, but Karl Modoff to win every single race, and not just by the skin of his teeth. We're talking in dominating fashion, where he's able to pull gaps, lead these races, do the correct fuel strategies, and just be absolutely perfect in every race he's started this season.
Speaking of perfect, right now, Thacker, who we were riding on board with, has had to be perfect to keep DeZube behind him. He's been applying quite a bit of pressure here, hoping to try and get himself... Oh, that's going to be a cut course penalty, as unfortunately Thacker is not perfect and has to slow up and hand over to the number 21.
Well, it just means he has to go again.
Back up to Modoff. That gap, not the most dominant we've seen, but still 4.5 seconds over Flores. You can definitely say that the 929 was holding him up. And Karl has shot off in the distance yet again.
Karl Modoff just pulling away now. It's going to be closing in over 5 seconds now as far as the gap. So he's stretching it now, and with 5 minutes, about 5.5 minutes to go, he probably will continue to stretch that gap between him and Jorge Flores.
Yep, his fastest lap, still a 1:48.3. Has been, let's see, who is the next fastest driver? Actually, very, very close. Jean-Marc Tremblay had a, oh wait, no, that's 1:49.3. So, no, that was not close. Excuse me. I'll have to dig through and see who has the next fastest lap here. But so far, Karl Modov, it looks like Flores the next fastest at 1:48.8. Still half a second slower, the next fastest lap. That says it all right there. Just nothing can stop Modov this season, it seems like.
No, it cannot. It would be a shocker to see anybody be able to challenge him if he comes back next season. I mean, just the pure dominance that Karl Modov has is just incredible. And it's been a pleasure to call this season and these races to watch Karl Modov.
Jorge Flores is spun. Jorge Flores is losing a position to Tremblay. And that means that Tremblay will hold on to third in the championship if it stays like this. Let's take a look at Flores. The Vidal chicane proves to be a little bit too tricky for the Hispano-American driver. A lot of curb there. Now, he only lost one spot, but it's a long ways up to Tremblay now at 3.5 seconds with about 3.5 minutes to go. And I doubt that the 929 will be able to catch him. He's got to play rear gunner instead on Leif Peterson, eyeing a podium position.
Yeah, Leif Peterson's about 1.1 seconds back from Jorge Flores, so another mistake by Flores could cost him that podium position, and Leif Peterson could be your new podium finisher in today's race.
Clock continues to wind down. Remember the battle between Dzube and Thacker? Well, Thacker's not, well, he hasn't fallen off, but he just has a big off track there coming out of the Mercedes arena, and that's certainly not going to help. But he's pushing hard to try and regain a top 10 from Dzube.
Making the run down to Dunlop, he's definitely trying to start putting a little bit of pressure. He's not close enough. The car gap is about 3 to 4 car lengths right now, but we see Thacker get a little bit late on the brakes down into Dunlop. He tries to get a good exit. He does it, goes into the gravel trap. Not going to be the best exit. Hopefully, of course, I think he'll make the climb through Schumacher.
Down to 2 laps to go at this point because Modov already crossing the line. Down in 13th, Valenzuela and Corey Clark trying to settle this one out. The mid-pack giving us some good action now that the front drivers have separated earlier on. Boy, we couldn't get away from them. Corey in his multicolored Porsche giving chase on the red and white Cristobal Valenzuela number 333.
Corey Clark has been one of those new drivers this season, has been doing quite well, had some up and down finishes, but still putting on a good show as far as in the mid-pack. And then, of course, Cristobal Valenzuela doing a great job this season, has a couple of good top 10 finishes, and is definitely going to be one to watch as far as those in the mid of the pack next season.
Meanwhile, Avital. What happened to Avital here? This is with Christian Eisler. They're in a battle for a top 5. 2 drivers who found themselves a little bit farther down than I think they wanted to be. Don't need to go to it, but I believe we've also seen Francisco Montini lose a spot to Sebastian Maciera just because he went wide in the first corner. Modov gave us a little bit of entertainment, at least. Put in a poor qualifying in, and having to climb up to first place as we take a look at Thacker and Dzube. Dzube responding, holding Thacker back to 7 or 8 tenths now.
Yeah, I've been watching Thacker. He's been having difficulty coming out of the Dunlop curve. and just not able to get the power down, goes a little bit wide through that section, which causes Dzube to pull that gap needed when he comes through Schumacher. But Thacker does try to close the gap, though, as they come through Michelin.
Well, let's go to Corey Clark once again, because he's very, very close to the likes of Valenzuela. This is again for 13th, unlucky number 13, final race of the season, as the white flag has come out. Modov has crossed the line. We'll get to him a little bit later, but he's got a monster gap right now, so really not much to watch. This is where the action is, as Clark takes a little bit of a look to the inside into the Vidal chicane, looks to run off the corner, another dive down into the inside of Coca-Cola, but he's got to get the power down off the corner. It is a drag race once again down the front stretch to the first turn. We've seen this a number of times this race. A little bit of a nose ahead, almost pinching Clark down. They almost come together. Clark much deeper on the brakes. Is it too deep? The over-under potentially, but it doesn't work. Corey Clark up to 13th.
Saw Cristobal getting a little bit aggressive, trying to make Corey Clark make a mistake, and he's not done with him. But we got to go back to our leader, Carl Modov, who's just been dominant all season long.
All of 5 corners to go for Carl Modov. Now, I say a perfect season. He did not get every bonus point, but I mean, who really cares at this point? To win every single race, to me, is perfect enough. And as he comes through the Vidal chicane, he missed out last season. He sealed up the championship and then came back and absolutely swept the field. Get out your vacuum cleaners. Carl Modov is going to win every single round of this season in the American iRacing Tuesday Series. Tremblay claims 3rd in the championship with his 2nd place today over Jorge Flores, who did run him down to about just under 2 seconds, but it was not enough. Flores finishes on the bottom of the podium, with Peterson taking 4th. Avital just holds off Eisler at the line for 5th. Of course, Sebastian Maciera with a good run himself, going from 10th to 7th. Rodrigo Munoz with an 8th place after starting 12th on the grid. Oof, disappointment for Francisco Montini, though. Put it on pole, but yet again, mistakes seeming to plague the Montini brothers. He fell all the way to 9th.
Poor Aaron Thacker couldn't close the deal with Tyler Dzube. Tyler Dzube will round out your top 10 in the GTE.
Not really many battles the rest of the way down the field, but what's impressive, in our final round, all 19 cars that are still running will all finish on the lead lap. So glad to see that. Takeshi Takita going to be the last one to cross the line. But we're going to take it to break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. It has been a fascinating 8 rounds where, even though we had one winner all season long, we had incredible action throughout the rest of the field. We'll give you the finishing order once we come back, as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to the Nürburgring. We just watched the final round of the American iRacing Tuesday series here for PRL. And, well, it was Karl Modoff again. But you can't be too disappointed because you have to admire the incredible season that he has put on, managing to win every single round, including this one here, round 8. For Season 1 2019, and Jean-Marc Tremblay showing that he might be one to watch in the future, though. He gets second place and takes third in the championship. Jorge Flores could not beat him to it. He does get a podium in the final round. Leif Peterson takes fourth, climbing from 8th on the grid, continuing to improve race after race. Another quiet one for Leif. We didn't get to give him coverage, but he deserves some credit. Simon Avital takes a top 5, with Christian Eisler finishing 6th after starting in 3rd. I don't think he'll be happy with that one. Sebastian Maciata finishing 7th, and Rodrigo Munoz takes 8th. Then it's Francisco Montini going from pole to 9th, and Tyler DeZube rounding out your top 10.
Aaron Thacker will finish in the 11th position. Behind him, Fernando Borda in 12th, Corey Clark in 13th, followed by Cristobal Valenzuela in 14th. Joey Trungale will come home in 15th, followed by Hugo Galaz in 16th. Jeff Jacobson in the 17th position, with Federico Montini, a terrible start, finished 18th overall, with Takeshi Kita in 19th, and Justin Hall was 5 laps down, and he will round out your top 20.
Mike Griffith finishes 21st, Jerome Bertome 22nd. I think Luis Morga was a did not start today, it looks like, unfortunately, and that's the last of your field. Our winner is with us once again, so let's talk to Karl Modoff about what we've been calling the perfect season. And Karl, before we get to the last win, let's talk about qualifying. You put it in its 7th out there today. Was that lack of practice, or what happened out there?
Yeah, I'm still trying not to stop sweating over here. But yeah, that was, I didn't get a lot of time to practice this week, just really busy. So I elected kind of just to try and run the whole 15 minutes as kind of like a start of the race sim, so I could kind of get a feel of how the car would change, thinking that would probably serve me better than running low fuel runs and, kind of getting the hang of that. So I was hoping I could qualify a little better than 7th, and I didn't know how my race pace was going to be, but that was a lot of fun.
I think you may have broke a few hearts when they saw your qualifying pace compared to your race pace. Now, you quickly got up to the top 3, and then you hit the likes of Jorge Flores, and he seemed to be the one to fight the hardest to try to hold you back. Tell us a little bit about that battle.
Yeah, that was tooth and nail. That was fun. This track is really cool. I really like the way it flows, and, there's a lot of kind of back and forth areas that you can kind of go for some really good side-by-side racing. So, we got back, did a lot of back and forth and side by side, and that was really cool. And yeah, he drove really good. He didn't make any real mistakes that allowed me to get by easy by any means. So, which is just the way I wanted it. That was super awesome that we had to have a really good battle. Looking forward to next season, and hopefully he runs again.
Obviously, you are now the champion in this series. But what about next season? Are you going to defend your crown, or having won every single race, are you going to hand off the torch to let somebody else win for a while?
I probably should take a hiatus, honestly. I'm not going to do any better than that, so I might as well quit while I'm on top. But no, I would really love to. I got a really busy schedule coming up, so we'll see if I have time. I have to figure that out. I don't know for sure if I'll be running, but I hope to. And yeah, I'm here to race, so hopefully next year there's, even more guys and it's more competitive, and, hopefully I lose a few. That was really awesome, and I'm glad, to say that I won every race. It's kind of cool. But yeah, looking forward to next season and having more battles and more races like tonight's race.
I think a lot of fans and a lot of drivers are hoping for that too. But regardless, congratulations on taking the championship and another win today.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks again for the broadcast. It's always really cool to have this. Kind of adds a special element to it. So I appreciate your.
Well, thank you very much. That was Karl Modoff, our winner and your champion for Season 1. Up next, Taylor has caught up with second place on the track and third in the championship, Jean-Marc Tremblay.
Yes, indeed. We caught up with Jean-Marc Tremblay. Jean, excellent finish for you today, finishing on second place, and also been able to close in on the gap on that championship, rounding out the podium finish overall in the championship. Tell us how the race was for you today.
It looked like a lot like Barber, where a lot of guys in front of me got into some trouble, and I was able to capitalize on that. And so, yeah, same stuff happening. And unfortunately for my teammate there at the end, kind of gifted me that position. But it's all good. We're finishing first in the team's championship, so it's awesome.
Yes, and that was a very good finalizing for the season for you as well. But looking forward to next season, what is your goal for that, as far as what are your plans, any possibility of maybe a new car, or just continuing what you're doing?
Yeah, well, that all depends if Carl comes back or not. So no, I'm just kidding. Congrats to Carl, by the way. Yeah, I'm probably gonna come back. Not sure in which car. I really love the Porsche. Might go with the Porsche.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you next season, Jean. And anything that you would like to say, anyone you would like to thank, any sponsors?
Just thanks to the team, Speedworks Racing team. They provide good setups for each race that we do. So yeah.
All right. Well, Jean, again, congratulations on your podium finish here today, and we look forward to seeing you next season.
Thanks.
And that was Jean-Marc Tremblay. And Joe, I believe you caught up with the likes of Leif Peterson.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Leif, congratulations on 4th place. Now, the bad news is there was so much action up at the front that we really didn't get to put the cameras on you a whole lot. So enlighten us. Did you have any great moments out there? We got caught up in watching the fight for the lead.
No, and for a minute it seemed like nobody wanted it. The only reason I got 4th is because there was so much action up front.
Now, very similar to what we saw with Modoff, it seemed like your qualifying was maybe so-so, but race pace, once again, proving to be your strong point.
Yeah, I'm trying to focus on my race setup because I can usually qualify okay, but then it goes away in racing. So, yeah, I could hang with those guys, but I could see Jean-Marc was catching the second pack, and they were running tight, and I just decided to hang back. And because they were getting a little racy up there, I figured they were going to let me catch back up to them, and I didn't know that, they would take themselves out like that. But that's unfortunate. And I know they're probably upset about that. But yeah, and then there was a spin by Christian, a spin by Jorge. I was inheriting left and right. So yeah, I just want to come on and say hi and thanks for the season to Aaron. I know he's not going to perform his duties next season, but I look forward to next season. It's a really good league.
Well, we'll hope that we get you back next season. And speaking of which, one of the big talking points that we've obviously learned about recently is the new BMW in the GTE class. Do you think you'll switch over from the Porsche? Or are you going to stick with it?
Yeah, no, it's a fine car, but I'm a Porsche guy, so
gotcha.
If there's a Porsche available, I have to take it.
I can understand being loyal to a marquee. But regardless, thanks for coming in and talking to us. And we look forward to seeing you maybe on some more podiums, maybe even challenging for some wins next season.
Yeah, I look forward to that too.
All right, that's Leif Peterson finishing 4th here today at the Nürburgring. And it's going to close things up for us in the final round of the season. We get a short little break before we come back, but we will be coming back. We've already signed up with PRL for, let's make sure I get the name right, the PRL GTE Sports Car Series next season. Changing names, but it's going to be the same deal, same type of races, same cars, except for one new one. But before we go, we obviously want to thank SIMMSA. The Simulation Motorsports Association can be found at SIMMSA.net if you want to check them out. They sponsored this entire season. So a huge thanks goes out to them. And also thanks go to Inspector Ride. Once again, you can find a free download from them, at inspectorride.com/iRacing. It is particularly useful if you transport cars because it is inspection software that you can keep track of all that you need to for cars being transported from state to state and all around the world even. Now, we also want to give a thank you to iRacing for putting this full season on IESN. We hope to be back next season. We'll see if that gets confirmed or not. We'll let you know as soon as we know. But make sure, in the meantime, to subscribe to IESN. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Taylor, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Cram. The next race will be at the normal time. It will be back in March, hopefully at the start of the season, but we'll get you specific dates soon. And it'll, as always, be on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We also have other upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.